Alright, so last time we built a complete front end for our application, a clean HTML form. It's a dining room where our user sits, but when they click add transaction, nothing happens yet. And frankly, our form is a bit plain. It's a skeleton without any clothes. So today we'll fix both of those things. We're going to make our form beautiful with CSS, and then we're going to finally connect it to our Python backend to receive data. But before we write another line of code, we need to talk about something crucial for a very serious developer protecting your work, which is GitHub. So now, if you go to github.com, now about GitHub, imagine you're writing a very important essay. You save it as essay version 1.doc. You make some changes and save it on essay version 2. Then you change your mind and you save it as essay final. But then you realize that the version from 2 days ago was better, but you've overwritten it, so it's gone forever. We've all been there. So Git is an ultimate solution to this problem. It's a version control system. Think of it as the undo button on steroids, right? Or a save game system for your code. So Git is a tool that you run on your own computer when you are happy with a set of changes. You take a snapshot of your entire project. So this snapshot is saved forever with a message. So you can have hundreds of these snapshots, and you can rewind to any one of them at any time. So it's the ultimate safety net. So GitHub is a website. It's a place to store your Git project folders online. So if Git is your personal diary of changes, and then GitHub is a cloud service where you can upload and share your library. So why it's important is to backup. If your computer breaks, your entire project with its full history is safe on GitHub. And for collaboration as well, is how teams of developers work on the same project without overwriting each other's work. And then your GitHub profile is also your modern resume, especially as a beginner programmer. So it's your public showcase of projects that you've built, proving your skills to potential employers. So we won't dive deep into the commands today, but the first step for any developer is to create a free account on github.com. It's a non-negotiable for your career in tech. All right, so I'm already logged into my account, so I'm gonna just sign out, and then you can just you can go ahead and sign up and register your account. You can sign up with your Google account, so you can put your email, your password, and then the username. Now let's go back to our project to make our system to make our form more beautiful. Now, as CSS stands for cascading style sheet. So if an HTML is a skeleton of your page, CSS is the clothing, the style, the paint. It contains colors, fonts, spacing, layout. So the easiest way to add CSS for a small project is to put it directly into HTML. But however, we're not going to be doing that. We will just go ahead and create a file here. So we can make a new file, and let's call it style.css. Sorry, so this file must be in template. I'm just gonna move it into template, right? And then we're going to tell our HTML document that we have a CSS file called style.css. Now let's go ahead and edit that file. Now the first thing, I'm going to select the body. So this affects the entire page. So the entire body of our HTML. We're going to put a font family, what type of font we want to use. Then I'm going to use a Apple system. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove other things to make it simple, because now it's a long thingamajig. Maybe we can just to remove other things, and we can have something like that. And then we want our background color to be slightly gray, and then the margin, we can just make it 0, and then the padding, we can just make it 20 pixels. We can make sure that this is displayed, it's a flexible content, and then justify content will be center. Right, then we're gonna take a container. Now a container for our main content. Obviously we'll have to edit our HTML page to put a container, because I don't think we put a container there. We want the width to be 100%, and we want the maximum width to be 500 pixels, and then we can have the background color, let's make it white, and we can have a padding of about 30 pixels, and you can add a border radius. Let's make it 8 pixels, and we can do a box shadow. Okay, and then we can style the H1. So that's a main heading. So the color, we can just make it darker gray, and it must align center. So the display will be flex, and then the flex direction, let's make it column, and the gap, let's make it about 20 pixels. So this actually creates a space between form elements. All right, so remember we had to use a line break, so we're gonna go and remove the line break, and then we can just use this, so that it will create. Now, and then we're gonna style the text boxes. So we've got an input that is a type of text, and we will add padding. Let's make it 12 pixels, and then we're gonna add the border. Let's make it 1 pixel, and then we'll just make it solid, and then light gray. We can also add a border radius. Let's make it 4 pixels in all the corners, and then the font size, let's make it about 16 pixels. All right, and then the button, the input, that is a type of submit, and then the color of the text. The color just represents the text color, so we're gonna make it white. And the border, none, and then a padding, we can make it 15 pixels. Border radius, we can make it 4 pixels, and then font size, let's make it 16 pixels, and then we can change the cursor to a pointer. So this changes the mouse to a pointer on hover, and then we can also add a transition on background color. So we'll apply a hovering effect when we hover. We must just add a container. And I'm gonna take the closure here and then just put it somewhere here. So we want to indent this a little bit. All right, now we must just remove the line breaks. We don't need them anymore. Oh my God. So remove the line breaks. Here we can say amount. I think we can say something like make a directory called let's call it a static. And then in this directory we can just move our style to this directory here. Now this is going to be our new route. It accepts the post request. Now we use the request.form to get the data from the form. So the key, description, and amount must match the name attributes in the HTML form. Okay, for now, let's just print it to the terminal to prove that it's working. And then in the real app, you'll save this in a database or we'll save it in your CSV file. So we can just return h1 a transaction edit successfully. H1, and then we can have a paragraph and say go back to add another. So we import request from Flask, and then our new route of app.route add method post explicitly says this route is handling a post request. So meaning it's a submitted form data. And then request here, when you say request.form description, it pulls the data from the input field where the name is description. So if you remember the name of the form, the input called description, and then we also have the name called amount. So it pulls that data from the input fields. All right, for now we're just printing the data to our terminal. So you can see the data arriving in your VS Code terminal. And then we're just returning a simple
confirmation message. All right,
so I'm gonna just stop this and then run it once more, and let's visit here. So let's say the description is fuel, and because it's an expense, I'm gonna say negative 500,
and then we're returning that it's successful. But then I can actually see now that I'm getting
the data, which is very important. I'm getting the data from now. Like I said, this is a non-negotiable skill for a developer. It's your professional safety net and the public portfolio. So let's get your finance tracker project onto GitHub profile. But before, you need to have Git installed on your computer. So if you haven't, just go to that website there and then download and install it.
So obviously you're gonna, depending what system you're using, so you can select Windows and then just go ahead and download Git for like standalone installer. And then just go ahead and download that.
So once it's done, then you can do installation. I had a previous version, but I'm just going to update it because my computer has been reminding me to actually update.
So you go to your GitHub account and let's just slot it in here and then sign in.
So I'm going to sign in mine while we're still installing.
And then you're going to click on plus here.
So you click on plus to create a new repository. Just click on the plus icon on the top right corner there and select new repository. And then we give it a name, personal finance tracker.
So you can do the description if you want.
Python personal finance tracker project.
All right, and then choose the visibility.
So the visibility is public. So this is your portfolio because it's public, so meaning anyone can actually see your code. And then do not initiate it with a readme or git. No, we want an empty repository,
which is basically your URL.
All right, so let's see how far is
this one here. All right, so I'm not going to launch, I'm not going to view release notes, so I'm just going to close.
So the next thing that you must do, I'm actually going to go
to so I'm going to right click on web apps, this folder, and then reveal
in Explorer.
Where it's actually stored on my computer, and then I'm gonna open that folder, and then right click,
and I'm gonna go show more options and then open Git bash here. We will say git init. So now this is to initialize, this turns your folder into a Git repository. And then we want to add all the files, so this tells Git to track all the files in the project. So we can just say git add, and then we put a dot there. And then we make our first save. So this takes a snapshot of your project. We can just say a git commit and we can just say the message will be initial initial commit. Let me just do something like this. Now if we go back to Git, you must copy these two lines, here. Copy these two lines, or because now I think it says fail to put some references to blah blah blah. I'm not sure which one, but I think what we can do also here, there is Git, so somewhere here, I think this one here, source control, yes. So you can actually, we can have that message of initial set up again somewhere here, and then we click on commit and publish branch. All right, so let's go ahead and check if it's published now. So I'm just gonna reload this. There we go. So you can see now I have the files in there. Sometimes, you know, this last command that we did, you might be asked to log into GitHub. Once it's done, refresh your GitHub repository page, and then we can see the app, the templates and static folders will be there. Then your code now is safe and part of your professional portfolio.